Experience!
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, the Week 10 NFL cheat sheet. Injuries, rankings, props, fantasy games, Underdog and DraftKings ownership, and pivot plays, getting you what you need to know as quickly as possible. If you just want all of this information in pure cheat sheet form, where you can just read it, sub to the Mayo Media newsletter. That's completely free. That's in the description. Additionally, the rankings are updated in the description right now at 4for4.com, and the cheat sheet will be available Sunday morning with updated ownerships and any more breaking news after this video has been filmed at 4for4.com as well. So let's get to it. Injuries at running back for week number 10. Bucky Irving is out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rashad White will get the start once again, but it's against the Patriots defense. Good run defense. They have limited running back ones all year long, and running back two, and hell, running back sevens as well. So he's in the mid-teens for me because he can still, it's a high-scoring game, at least per the projected point totals for each team. The Buccaneers are favorites in this game. He should get enough work on the ground. He should get all the goal line touches. The yardage, I don't think is going to be there, although the receptions may be. But when we see the Underdog play a little bit later on, code Mayo at Underdog, by the way, to get yourself in on that, he's going to be a lower for me in the rushing total. On the other side of the ball, Ramondre Stevenson, with his toe injury, is out once again as well. That means Trevion Henderson is going to get the start with Jennings as the primary backup. I just don't trust Henderson to do all that much, especially on the ground against a good Buccaneers run defense. They're a pass funnel team. He is just outside the top 20 at running back and half-point PPR, although I do expect him to have a whole bunch of catches in this game. Whether the touchdowns materialize, we do not know. Aaron Jones is questionable for the Vikings with a shoulder injury. He seems to be on the good side of playing. If not, Jordan Mason would bump up inside the top 20, but both of them right now are in the 20s. Aaron Jones at number 23, Jordan Mason at number 27 against a improving Baltimore defense. This is going to be a good test for the Baltimore defense. 3 weeks in a row, they've played very good defense after getting absolutely lit up to start the season. Everyone is healthy. There's no names on the injury report anymore, so this is about as healthy as the Ravens are going to get all year long. We had the one great week of Kyle Monangai, and now he's banged up, but probably going to play. And now it looks like DeAndre Swift and his groin injury are going to be active as well. I like Swift slightly more than Monangai, but both of them are capable starts, not good starts. Not guys you want to rely on, but if needed, you can start both of them, and hopefully you pick the right one who gets in the end zone. Maybe they both do, because the Giants' run defense and defense in general, not good. And there's projected to be a lot of points in this game if they do it on the ground. Going to be good news for both those guys. Saquon Barkley and his groin injury that he sustained before the bye week is expected to play. Quinshon Judkins against the New York Jets is going to be in. Expect a lot of carries for Judkins in this one. J.K. Dobbins got banged up on Thursday Night Football with a foot injury. He did come back into the game for 2 plays, but didn't do much with him, then had to exit, so we'll keep updated. He has 9 days to recover for the Denver Broncos if you were still playing J.K. Dobbins at this point. Receivers, bad news for the Buccaneers. Bucky Irving, as mentioned, already out. Chris Godwin going to be out. Mike Evans going to be out. It's going to be Egbuka and Tez Johnson as the starters. You're going to get the other Johnson in there. You're going to get some Cade Otton. It's still a pretty banged up receiving core for the Buccaneers right now, but Egbuka is going to be a top 10 play. Tez Johnson inside the wide receiver 3 range at wide receiver number 34 this week. Terry McLaurin is out for the Washington Commanders. Deebo Samuel is going to be in, as we've seen most of the season. Chris Moore is still expected to take most of the McLaurin role, but with Marcus Mariota playing quarterback, that doesn't really mean anything. It's not like he's going to get a ton of catches or a ton of looks, but he will be out there running wind sprints. Every 3 games or so, Chris Moore hits his over on receptions of 2.5, but outside of the prop market, I couldn't imagine playing Chris Moore this week. The other guys, I guess maybe we'll get more Jalen Lane in this game because Luke McCaffrey is also out for the season with a broken collarbone. It's a big catch-up spot. Although it is outdoors, the Lions' pass defense has been pretty bad. If you had to take a gamble, I would probably do it on Lane over Moore, only because he's such a speedster. He's returning kicks as well. It might only take 1 for him to get there, where that's not usually the case for Chris Moore. Ricky Pearsall out again for the San Francisco 49ers. I have no idea when he's going to be back. Brandon Ayuk was originally scheduled to be activated off injured reserve for Week 10. That did not happen, so Week 11, 12, or 13. I'd probably guess 13 at this point for the return of Brandon Ayuk, which means you can keep running out Juwan Jennings in this game, maybe Kendrick Bourne if you're in a desperation situation, although Jennings over Bourne seems to be the play now that Jennings is closer to full health. And I know George Kittle hasn't been good since he returned from injury, but you're probably going to want to play him as well because tight end kind of thin this week. Another Patriots injury, Kayshon Boutte, the Boutte man, and his hamstring injury out against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So expect to see more Stefon Diggs in this spot, although he's still on his snap count. He's still playing limited right around 60 to 70% of the offensive snaps, which means more for Pop Douglas, who showed out last week. Is that going to happen again? I don't know, but he runs a lot of underneath routes that are easier completions. He and Hunter Henry are the preferred targets in this game. Mac Hollins expected to be playing a lot more on the outside than he normally would because Kyle Williams is just not where he needs to be right now. Isaiah Bond out for the Cleveland Browns, but Cedric Tillman is going to return. Harold Fannin is banged up with a hamstring injury as well. No word yet on whether or not he's going to play. So I bumped down Fannin in the tight end rankings to just outside the top 10. If we get full go on him on Sunday morning, I'll probably bump him back up to number 8. If not, Njoku moves up to be a top 10 play. The Jets defense, listen, it wasn't good anyway, and they just lost its 2 best defenders. So they should be able to move the ball on the ground against them and through the air. It's just, I don't trust Dylan Gabriel at all to make passes that are more than 5 yards in the air. So Tillman is not really a must start by any means. I loved Tillman at the beginning of the year when I assumed that Joe Flacco would just be airing it out to him. I like Tillman more than Judy because Judy reeks. You probably drop Judy at this point. I would take the gamble that maybe that Tillman actually has a bit more of a connection right now with Gabriel. But we know that Fannin does. I would just expect to see a lot of Judkins out of the backfield pounding the ball and see if the Jets can stop them. If they can't, he's going to rush the ball 25 times in this game. There's going to be no good anything in the air for the Browns receivers. Torrey Horton is expected to be out after scoring 2 touchdowns on Monday Night Football. He hurt his groin and his shin. He ain't playing. Good news for Rashid Shaheed, who was just traded to the Seattle Seahawks, should play that vertical role, although Cooper Kupp is expected to be back as well. As you may have noticed, the Seahawks run a lot of 2 wide receiver, 2 tight end sets, so you can see a lot of in and out between Shaheed and Cooper Kupp on the outside, with Barner and Arroyo flanking either the slot or flanking just outside of the tackles, with JSN always on the field because you'd be insane to take him out of the game with the production that he's putting up at this point. For the Packers, Matthew Golden is leaning out with a shoulder injury. We might get more word later on Saturday whether or not his status has been upgraded. Ditto for Dontavian Wicks. We know that Tucker Kraft is out for the season. So this once smorgasbord of receivers that Jordan Love can throw to, especially against the Eagles here, who did upgrade their defense during the trade deadline. Very bigly, as some would say. But, pass rush, you got some more DBs in the mix. I don't know if it's going to improve their defense all that much, although the pass rush should be a lot better. But right now, you could see no Wicks, no Golden, and obviously no Tucker Kraft, which really does condense the passing tree for the Packers on Monday night against the Eagles. They are favorites in this game. You're going to see more Josh Jacobs because he's been removed from the injury report with his calf injury, so back to full health for him. But you're going to get a lot of Christian Watson in this game until he inevitably gets hurt on the 3rd target that he ends up getting, like always, and a lot of Romeo Doubs in this game. I like both those guys this week. Luke Musgrave gets a bump up too if we lose Wicks and Golden, just because there are fewer targets to go around. Savion Williams would probably be the next up. I always like him for a few carries out of the backfield. He's not someone you're going to want to play, but they were utilizing him more against Carolina than he's been all season long. So a deep league stash if you're looking for that. This one I do find concerning. Ted McMillan popped up with a hamstring injury on Thursday. Now he's very much in question to play on Sunday, which, listen, if they have their way, the Panthers are going to give Rico Dowdle the ball 38 times, and that's going to win them the game against the Chiefs. That might work. The Chiefs, or against the Saints, sorry. The Saints actually have a good run defense. If they can limit Rico Dowdle at all, and they can't get Chuba Hubbard going, that will force Bryce Young into the air, which just has not been successful all year long. And if Ted McMillan is not out there or is at least compromised, then you're dealing with Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette, Jatavion Sanders. That game could end up a lot closer if the Saints can move the ball at all against the Panthers. Just do not like the passing game at all. I've dropped Tet down to just inside the top 30. If he plays, you're probably going to need to play him because he does have that sort of upside. But anyone else on the Panthers, even if McMillan misses, Coker maybe, but nah, just find better options down the list. Garrett Wilson is a better option, just not this week against the Browns. I have him at wide receiver number 29, although he is expected to play. A.D. Mitchell, who they acquired in the trade with the Colts for Sauce Gardner, is not expected to play. Could be a last-second active, but I would doubt it first go on the team. Cedric Tillman, as mentioned, is going to be back. Tim Patrick and Diami Brown will be active for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They also acquired Jacoby Myers during the trade deadline. Brian Thomas Jr. is not going to play. Obviously, Travis Hunter's on injured reserve. He's not going to play. So you're going to get Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington with some Diami Brown and Tim Patrick in your life as a receiving core against a very good Texans defense. The highest on my list is Parker Washington, and frankly, he's not inside the top 35, so he's just not that good of an option. Luther Burden has passed concussion protocol. He and Cole Kmet are expected to play for the Bears against the Giants, so their offense returns to almost exactly full health. I bumped down Loveland a little bit, and Zacchaeus, who has piled up a bunch of targets and might still do the same, might be compromised a little bit with the return of Luther Burden. Josh Palmer for the Bills is questionable to play with his knee and ankle injury. Frankly, trying to find anyone on the Bills in the receiving core to play right now is almost impossible because some weeks it's Shakir, some weeks it's three different tight ends, or Josh Allen is just running it in, or James Cook runs for 240 yards and they don't have to throw the ball. That none of these receivers are good starts. Shakir is like kind of an okay start because he's not consistent, but he's the most consistent of all these guys. Other than that, besides Kincaid, wouldn't play anyone in the Bills passing game right now. Tight end injuries. Cole Kmet, as mentioned, has passed concussion protocol. He is going to play. Harold Phantom with that hamstring injury, as mentioned, might not go, might go. He will probably be a last-second inactive unless we get word on Saturday. That's why subscribing to the newsletter is so key, because I can't update this video or podcast after I've filmed it, but I can update the cheat sheet when it gets sent out. Hunter Long for Jacksonville is not going to play. He's been declared out against the Texans with a hip and knee injury. The secondary tight end on the Vikings, Josh Oliver, is out for this game, so maybe we'll see an uptick in at least receptions, but for TJ Hawkinson, or he's asked to block more. Who knows? But Oliver is very good at stealing red zone touchdowns from everyone else on the Vikings. It's actually kind of nice to have him out, at least for fantasy purpose. For real life purposes, not so great against the Ravens. Daniel Bellinger will return for the Giants from his neck injury to split snaps with Theo Johnson for the Giants. I still like Theo Johnson a little bit better, but obviously this caps whatever upside you may think that he's going to have. Quarterback Jaden Daniels has not been placed on injured reserve. He got good news this week on his elbow, but it's more of a wait and see. He's out indefinitely. Marcus Mariota is going to start in this game, and he will probably start for the rest of the season as long as he's healthy, unless Washington can get themselves back into a playoff spot, which seems kind of not going to happen with their schedule and Marcus Mariota playing quarterback. But if it happens, Daniels could come back. I would not anticipate his return in 2025. Fresh start in 2026 for Jaden Daniels going into year 3. CJ Stroud is out with a concussion. Davis Mills is going to start. Nico Collins or bust for the Texans this week. Maybe Dalton Schultz if you don't have a tight end. But Nico Collins is the only one I would actually consider like, hey, pretty decent start. That's about it. Kyler Murray has been placed on injured reserve out at least 4 games. They're saying as long as 8 weeks. Jacoby Brissett will continue to start, and he's playing Seattle. Doesn't seem like a good matchup, but he's throwing the ball deep. And when you throw the ball deep, you can throw a bunch of picks, or you can get lucky, throw for a bunch of yards and touchdowns. Not the worst start because Seattle's offense is humming. They're going to be in catch-up mode, and they're going to be throwing in this game. Brock Purdy is not going to be starting. No word yet on whether he'll be active or inactive for the 49ers against the Rams, but Mac Jones is going to start, and Purdy would only be used in an emergency situation. Those are the quarterback injuries. Those are the rankings. Again, if you need the rankings list to consult or just need to recap what those injuries were, right now, if you hit the description, the rankings are there up at 4for4.com. The direct link is there, and I'll resend out the injury report and everything in the Mayo Media newsletter later on Saturday evening. So please sub to that right now. And while you're here, sub to the channel, turn on the notifications, and smash the like, because early on Sunday afternoon at the kickoff, we are streaming Red Zone live on Playback and the Mayo Media YouTube channel. If you just want someone to watch along with, Red Zone's a lot of fun. We're watching all 8 games at once, and you can actually stream Red Zone if you're a VIP in Playback. Doesn't cost anything to sign up, but go into the PME room at playback.tv/the PME right now. Go sign up over there. Join my room. I can make you a VIP, and you can stream Red Zone along with me, Cuss, and whoever else is stopping by the MMN studios. I will be live 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time after the conclusion of the late games before Sunday Night Football. Me, Cust, and Garion. And we have a special guest picker this week to guess the spreads along with us. We're doing that every single week. If you would like to join to see if you can be the guest picker, mayomediainc@gmail.com to put your name into the hat. We've already drawn this week's. We've reached out. We've coordinated. And we'll be doing it more going forward. All right? Coming up, we got props, we got Underdog, we got Sharp Stack, we got DraftKings, we got ownership, we got a whole lot more, so stay tuned. You know how much time I spend researching bets and lineups and shows and getting everything ready for you? So when it's actually time to sleep, I need it to count. That's why I switched to a Helix mattress, and honestly, game changer. I have Helix mattresses all over my house. My wife and I have one. The guest room has one. My kids have one. I got a kid on the way, and eventually they're going to have one too. Even Jared over at the studio living there, I got him a Helix mattress as well. Populated with Helix, you need to do it too. I used to wake up with a stiff back and night sweats. Now I just sleep through the night. No tossing around, no overheating. It's just comfortable and supportive. I took their quiz, I tailored it to myself, and boom, I got exactly what I needed from the mattress I deserve. I think you deserve a nice one too. So go to helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off and exclusive to Pat Mayo Experience listeners. That's helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off. Make sure to enter my show name after checkout so they know I sent you. helixsleep.com/Mayo. You know that moment before the night out when you're excited but also thinking, tomorrow might be rough. Yeah, I've been there. Sure have. And that's why I've started using pre-alcohol from ZBiotics. Total game changer. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, built by PhD scientists to tackle those tough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol creates an unwanted byproduct in your gut, and that's what makes it hard the next day. Pre-alcohol is designed to break down that byproduct. Now, I drink pre-alcohol as my first drink of the night, and the next morning, good to go. So if you want to enjoy every day, head to zbiotics.com/PatMayo and use code PatMayo for 15% off your first order. And it's backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. So there's no risk, only better mornings. Coming back on the Pat Mayo Experience, head over to coolbet.com if you're in Canada, outside of Ontario, and get yourself an account over there because you can play the PME Weekly Boost every single week for football and golf. This week, under the PME exclusive Weekly Boost, we have a 3-banger same-game parlay in the Jets and Browns game, a game that I actually really like. I'm going all in on the Browns, we can see. Judkins, who I've mentioned a bunch of times already, over 70 rushing yards. Breece Hall, under 65.5 rushing yards. And the Cleveland Browns to win that game. Normally, that would be right around plus 250, but the boost will give you up to 3-1 on that right now over at coolbet.com. Highly recommend that you go over there and get yourself in. We head over to Underdog. You can use code Mayo at Underdog right now. You can hit the description for that as well. Deposit bonus of up to $1,000. But the big thing that you'll get is you get all new players using code Mayo. If you play a $5 pick'em entry, you automatically get $100 in bonus funds off that entry, win or lose. So hopefully you can use one of these and actually win. We got some college football. We got some NBA on the go for this evening, but we got some NFL. I don't love the entire NFL slate. Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow morning and have a change of heart, and maybe I'll put out either on X or in the newsletter one for the the Germany game that's going on between the Falcons and Colts this week. We'll see about that. I don't want to do it just to do it, but these are 4 plays that I really like this week. And I've already brought up 3 of them so far, plus an additional one. Trevion Henderson, the Bucs run defense is good. And Trevion Henderson, one bad play and he gets sent to the bench for a while. I just don't anticipate him having a bunch of carries in this game. Even if he gets 10, over 4.5 yards per carry to beat the 44.5 rushing yards, because he has such dynamic speed, he could get this all on one rush. You always play with that when you go with 4 unders, but lower than 44.5 rushing yards for Trevion Henderson. On the other side of the ball, I've already mentioned Rachaad White as well, 43.5 rushing yards. Take the under. The Patriots have been one of the best run defenses in the league. They are a pass funnel team. Both of these are pass funnel teams. If you wanted to put these with like the Baker and Drake May over for passing yards, or find Demario Douglas or Tez Johnson over in receiving yards, that would make a lot of sense to me. These are the two that I like the most from each side of the ball. So we'll throw those two on. I've already mentioned Breece Hall. He's on the cool bet play as well, but at underdog, 63.5 rushing yards, going with the under. Cleveland, again, one of the better run defenses. If they can get up in this game, big ask for a terrible offense like the Cleveland Browns, but if they just hone in to stop the run, what's Justin Fields gonna do, brother? Nothing. Unless he runs wild on them, which is potentially possible. But through the air, it's just not going to be a whole lot going on for the Jets against the Browns. Then I put on Amari DiMercato, lower than 34.5 rushing yards against the Seahawks. They are almost 7-point dogs in this game. Additionally, so there's not going to be a whole lot of running. And what we did see in the Monday night game against Dallas was DiMercato looked a lot better than Bam Knight. Bam Knight still played more snaps than DiMercato. And when you look at both of their player props this week, Bam Knight's projection in rushing yards is actually lower than 28.5. I think that he will still get the majority of the work on the ground. Now, if they do fall behind by too much, DiMercato might end up on the field in a primary pass catching role because he is the best pass catcher of this bunch. His over-under for receiving yards, I believe, is 8.5. So even if you want to go to cool bet and go lower rushing yards, higher receiving yards, that's the same game parlay you could make. But I just like this lower than 34.5 rushing yards. Much like Henderson, he's going to be used primarily in the pass catching role. He will get a few rushes along the way. Hopefully they're not at the end of the half when a bad 2-minute drill gone awry and everyone's in prevent defense and he gets a draw play and breaks it off for 25 yards. That would suck. But these are the risks that you take when you start playing under. So 4 lowers on underdog: Trevion Henderson, Rachaad White, Breece Hall, and Amari DiMercato, all under the rushing number. 4 picks, and I got a boost of 50%. There's a few of those in the lobby right now. What does that pay? $50 max pays 19 to 1, so 50 pays 967 if this one ends up hitting. We are coming off an amazing week number 9. Won a bunch of cash. Well, so let's see if we can do some more. Let's see what else we got here. We got Deuce Robinson, Randy Pittman, Nazea Hunter. No idea who these people are, but SharpStack told me those were good plays, so I put them together as a college football play. And there's even more NBA plays coming around from SharpStack as well. PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, and Jacob Poeltl, all lower on rebounds for Saturday as well, if you're watching this on a Saturday. Or you can just get the SharpStack app. It's a fantastic app. I've been using it to print money, especially on NBA. Has been just fantastic so far. I withdrew $8,800 last week after a big NBA and big NFL Sunday. That was terrific news, especially after not sweating the Sunday night game and going to sleep. So far, so good. Either treading water, having big weeks, not big losing weeks, because you're not going to win every single week, even when the odds are exceptionally in your favor. Right now, all the best plays on the board are actually college football and NBA. Porzingis under lowers, Jose Alvarado under assists, and something just jumped up. You can see in real time when books release new odds, and it will tell you the book that it's at, and then what it is at every other book and the odds as well. 4for4.com/Mayo to get yourself in. If you want a free trial of SharpStack, which also includes projections, includes the odds screen, all the props, you can get your middles, you can get your bet tracker on the go, ARBs if you want to play it that way. It's all included, as are the DFS tools, all the season-long fantasy tools, the projections, the simulations, a free week. Right now, 4for4.com/Mayo. Use code Mayo50. Get the free 7 days. If you like it, you get 50% off the monthly deal right now. Let's just switch over to NFL and see what's going on. All right, what do we got on the go here? Xavier Legette receiving yards. It's funny, the two best plays are either over or under depending on where you bet. So this is where stuff really comes in, why you need to shop for the best value. If you like this one, I'm going to stay away from this one until I know the status of Tet McMillan, because maybe Legette ends up just playing a bit more, although under 33.5 is a pretty solid number for Xavier Legette when you just see what he's been up to. Has he gone over 33? He had the one game against the Jets where he had 92 yards, and he has not been over that number in any other contest this year. 31 is his next highest after he broke out for the 90. So hopefully it's not the 90 game. But if you really want to get sneaky here and try to middle it, Xavier Legette at DraftKings under 33.5 receiving yards, -114. Xavier Legette over 24.5 receiving yards at Bet Rivers. If you have both those book, are the two best plays on the board. You can middle that for a 9-yard middle. Like if he ends up at 29, you win both sides of that bet. You can see it, the different books. It's the highest right now at DraftKings Sportsbook. That's probably in reaction to the McMillan news, and most of the places have gone up with them. So you can see at Caesars, it's 32. At ESPN Bet, because that's still a thing for the moment, is 31.5. I did a big thing on ESPN, a bonus show this week up on the network about talking about ESPN Bet, why Penn stuff doesn't work, the new DraftKings sponsorship with ESPN, and the impact of prediction markets for everyone who enjoys to bet. So you can see just across the board, people are just way off on the Leggett stuff. Like at Bookmaker, 23.5, Bet Rivers 24.5, Pinnacle is 24.5 as well. So this number is just wild across the market right now, and using the SharpStack app can let you know if you like that one or not. So a lot of those. Blake Corum rushing yards under 31.5 currently at BetMGM is another strong play right now. I generally, depending on the sport, if something isn't over in this EV column, isn't over +5 EV, I am not going to play it. I made that mistake where, it's a slightly positive. You're just flipping coins at bad odds at that point. If you can get above 5%, the VIG should be in your favor regardless of what the VIG is going to be. So that's a spot that I really like if you can find those. And the Blake Corum one is right now. The best number is either at BetMGM or Hard Rock, although that Hard Rock number has been juiced to -140. It's only -115. You get a quarter savings on every dollar bet if you do it at BetMGM instead of Hard Rock, and the number is just wildly lower at everywhere else. Like FanDuel and Bovada have 27s. It's a 4-yard difference. That's huge for a backup running back who we did see a lot of last week against the Saints, but they were playing the Saints and up by a bunch, and they couldn't really get much going on the ground until the later stages of that game when Kyron and then Blake Corum come in. I tend to think in what should be a closer game. Now, if they start blowing out the 49ers, you're going to see a lot of Blake Corum. If we don't, we're going to see a lot of Kyron Williams, and Corum could be held in check in this spot. But the number to play it at is 31.5 if you're going to go with the under of -115. Theo Johnson under 3.5 receptions with Daniel Bellinger coming back even against the Bears is a strong look as well at under 3.5 receptions, -110. -110's at BetMGM. If you wanted to play that at DraftKings, you're wasting more than a quarter, 26-cent difference at DraftKings versus BetMGM right now, and that's consistent across the market. Hard Rock 135, at ESPN -135, Bet Rivers -137. If you have BetMGM, that is the spot to do it if you're looking to pay less VIG. Like honestly, in order to win $100, you have to bet 110 to do that with Theo Johnson. In order to win $100 at some of these other places, you have to bet $140. Why would you bet $140 to win 100 when you bet 110 somewhere to win it elsewhere? Let's see in real time what is updated here at the EV. It's still Johnson, still Corum. Aaron Rodgers rushing yards under 1.5. I don't like those type of bets. That's not going to be for me. Jacoby Brissett rushing yards at Bet Rivers over 10.5. That number is 13.5, 14.5, all the way up to, do we got a 15? Yeah, and up to 15.5 in some places. A 10.5 is a terrific number at Bet Rivers right now, if that's where you have access to. DJ Moore receiving yards under 44.5. That seems high in market because he is 42.5 everywhere else. Still a pretty strong play, as you can see, even at the 42.5 number at the lower VIG. But if you can play at the higher VIG, why wouldn't you do that? The under on Jalen Coker receiving yards as well is popping up right now, but I still am going to be staying away from most of the Carolina receivers until, again, I get that Tet McMillan news. Somewhat surprisingly, I actually take tailgating very seriously. Grill fired up, cooler packed, and yeah, I'm the guy everyone counts on for the food. Whether that's my home barbecues, birthdays, tailgating, doesn't matter what it is, Pat Mayo is always relied upon for bringing the food. That's why I go with Omaha Steaks, the official sponsor of tailgating. They've been America's original butcher for over a century, and everything they send is top-notch, perfectly aged steaks, juicy burgers, those thick, deli-style franks, all delivered directly to your door. I tossed the ribeyes on the grill last weekend. Crazy tender, amazing flavor, and you can taste the quality. There's no off-season for flavor here. Make your next game day delicious with Omaha Steaks. Just head to omahasteaks.com and use promo code MAYO at checkout for $35 off your order. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code MAYO. Terms apply. See site for details. For over a century, Johnnie Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereux Golf, Johnnie Walker introduces the Johnnie Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, blue label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereux Go. Submit proof of your achievement to johnniewalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. The days are getting shorter and it's easy to feel like the world's getting a little darker, too. This time of year can be tough, especially when life gets busy. So BetterHelp is encouraging everyone to reach out, check in on your friends, reconnect with family, or grab a coffee with someone from your team or a friend that you haven't seen in a while. Just like sending that first message, starting therapy can feel hard, but taking that step is almost always worth it. You might even find yourself wondering, why didn't I do this sooner? With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 5 million people served, BetterHelp is one of the world's largest online therapy platforms. They help you match with a therapist based on your needs so you can focus on your goals, not the search. If the fit's not right, you can switch anytime. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easy to take that first step. My listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PatMayo. That's BetterHelp.com/PatMayo. Reach out, connect, and remember, you're not alone. Jump over to DFS. We went through the entire lineup builds on the DraftKings show on Friday with Tambo and John, 4for4.com/Mayo in order to get yourself the discount over here. Again, the free 7-day trial with code Mayo50 gets you access to the optimizer and the sims as well. If that's what you're looking for, we'll just take a look at each position and the relative values and the projected ownership. We had a lot of questions about Judkins on the show yesterday about how he's going to be chalk. I don't think that he's going to be chalk because Rico Dowdle is projecting right around 38% right now. Dowdle 38, Christian McCaffrey 30%, A-Chain 27%. There are no cheap values at running back this week. You're going to have to pay up or pay for 3 mid-tier guys if you want to get into that range. And because of that, it's leaving Judkins a little bit exposed at his price point. Now, he's still 14%. He's not going to be wildly unowned. I love him in this spot. The computer does not agree with me because he doesn't catch passes, but I just think he can beat up the Jets defense and his favorites. How often are you going to get the Browns as favorites? Not very often is the answer. By far the 3 best plays on the slate, Dowdle, A-Chain, and McCaffrey. Dowdle earlier in the week was limited with a quad injury. He is off the injury report now at a 38% ownership in the 10 max, which we did the lineups for on the show. I'm fading Dowdle outside of I think 1 team just because he fit perfectly on one of the teams. I'm good with fading Dowdle. And maybe the Saints D actually shows up a little bit on the ground. And it's just a low-scoring game, and we don't get it. Like a $6,300 running back, yeah, he's good. He's projected for a ton of points. He's a great value, a fantastic ceiling. He has been smashing. But when we take a look at the other guys in his range, is he markedly better? Is he 3 times better, 4 times better than some of these other guys? Like Kyren Williams and Judkins, both at 13 and 14% at similar type of prices. I would rather play those guys at 1/3 of the ownership and just hope that they score the touchdowns and Rico Dowdle doesn't. Hell, you could even go with Breece Hall. I don't like Breece Hall this week, but at 10% ownership, go with DeAndre Swift, $6,100 at 5% ownership. He is going to be, 8 times under-owned than what Dowdle is going to be? Is that going to be the case that Dowdle outscores him 8 times out of 8 or 7 out of 8 times? Probably not, especially if Swift's coming back and Mnunga's a little bit beat up in a very good matchup, a better matchup than Dowdle is in. I'm just saying, I don't want to make the anti-Dowdle case. I think he's a fantastic play. But if we're trying to make our teams a little bit different, if you're going to go chalky to begin with, maybe take out McCaffrey, maybe take out Dowdle, take out one of them because those guys are going to be combined in a lot of lineups this week. The best values on the board as we look at it, as mentioned, Dowdle, Achane, McCaffrey, and Montgomery. Montgomery is probably the best, cheapest play, especially when you start considering some of the other options that are down there. Like Trevion Henderson is $5,600. ETN is $5,700. But once you start going down, it's like Woody Marks and David Montgomery. Montgomery as 8-point favorites on the road. You could see a lot of running in this game. If you have to go down there, 5,000 isn't the worst case scenario, especially with Gibbs at 8,000. You could go Montgomery and Lions D to save some money if you wanted to as well, if that's the route that you wanted to go. But after Montgomery, James Cook, Derrick Henry, and Kyren Williams are all in that little pocket. Then you have ETN and Jahmyr Gibbs at lower ownership coming through. Wide receiver this week, the best values. JSN, Puka, Amon-Ra, all above $8,000, so there's no way. It's going to be hard to afford one of these guys, let alone two of these guys or three of these guys. Then you get down to Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is spiking up. Zay Flowers, Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, Wendell Robinson, and Marvin Harrison Jr. in that $5,000 range. Jennings is the cheapest of that bunch at $4,600. All project to be the better value. Wendell is going to be by far the lowest owned of that group at 7% at the moment. The other guys to take a look at in terms of ownership, Egbuka is going to be super high. Amon-Ra, JSN, Puka, Egbuka, Zay Flowers, all projected right now over 20%. The ownership ranking projections are going to get a refresh on Saturday evening. They'll get another one on Sunday morning. I'll have the updated ones in the newsletter Saturday evening. You can come back to 4 for 4 and get the updated ownership projections early on Sunday if you want the most accurate ones around rather than doing it on a Saturday afternoon, because stuff is just simply going to change. We take a look at some more GPP values if you're trying to scum and try to find some cheaper. So you have Juwan Jennings at 46, Tez Johnson at 45, pretty good play. Let's see, Demario Douglas, obviously at $4,000. Jameson Williams, boom or bust. Ditto with Darius Slayton, who's at $4,300. Most of the time, you're going to get 2 points, but in that off chance he breaks the Slayton, you're going to be looking good at $4,300 this week. If you're looking for a cheaper stack, you could go J.J. McCarthy, Jordan Addison, and then go back up to Zay Flowers, who is only $5,900. If you do that, then you could afford two of the higher-end running backs. You could go Achane, James Cook, Gibbs, if that's a threesome that you wanted to roll out. I prefer something like McCaffrey, Judkins, and James Cook, and then try to manipulate the rest of your team around that. But you can do that if you play that cheaper stack as J.J. McCarthy in a passing situation as dogs at home with the receiver. Listen, Addison's not as good as Jefferson, but the difference in their price point shouldn't be $2,500 with the way that Addison has performed in every time that he's been on the field with Jefferson. It's usually one great game for Jefferson, one good for Addison. Take the chance that this is this week and then run Zay Flowers on the backside of that stack. And you can get in all of the, if you're looking to get in the expensive running backs that you want to get in this week. Tight ends, kind of a dead zone. People are just loading up on McBride, Kittle, Henry, Laporta, and Njoku. Njoku's rising in the rankings because Fannin is dealing with that hamstring injury. I would expect him to go up a ton if you're looking for that at $3,200. Hunter Henry at $3,500 is a pretty decent play. If we're just seeing who the best GPP values are, McBride, Kittle, Njoku, Henry, Laporta, almost 1v1 with how they're being utilized. I personally, if you are looking to save all the money in the world, maybe it will happen 2 weeks in a row, maybe it won't, but Greg Dulcich is a minus GPP value, but he's $2,600 as a 10-point favorite at home with only basically Waddle, Malik Washington, and him running routes for Tua in this game. He might just be able to pick up a ton of cheap yardage here. He did it on the Thursday night game against the Ravens where they only scored 6 points. He was who you needed to have in showdown lineups. And at $2,600, he just allows for so much flexibility in your lineup. Now, if you want to stack up an A.J. Barner and a Sam Darnold build, I completely understand that. But if you're just looking for a one-off way to save money, it would be Dulcich for me near the bottom of the tight end salary cap. Josh Allen, Lamar, Mayfield, Drake May, 1, 2, 3, 4, all above 10%, but no one is way above anyone else. Then you're into like Mac Jones, J.J. McCarthy. We built out a whole bunch of these different scenarios on the show with Tambo and John. Again, just hit the pod feed. Smash the like while you're here as well before you go do that. But as long as you're subbed to the channel and turn notifications on, we are live every single Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern if you ever have questions. Sam Darnold and Caleb Williams are both pretty low in the ownership. I think they're both pretty good plays this week. Hell, even Jacoby Brissett, pretty good play against the Seahawks. And if you use him and Michael Wilson, who's $3,300, along with McBride or Marvin Harrison, you can then squeeze in JSN if you want to and run it back that way. We did build a Sam Darnold, JSN, Rashid Shaheed, and AJ Barner onslaught for the Seahawks to see if we can really maximize Sam Darnold that way, and hopefully no Charbonnet, no Kenneth Walker on the ground. Defenses, let's see, where do we go? Jags at, the Jags at 14% ownership. It seems like a fade for me, even though they're in a great spot, even though they're on the road, but they're playing Davis Mills against a bad offense anyway. So Jags, Browns, Bucks, Seahawks, Browns and Jags 10%, 14%. If you had to go scumming, the Texans D should be really good against Trevi. Where are they rating out right now? I don't even see them here. 4% ownership at only $3,100. Not a terrible spot. Even the Saints, hell, against the Panthers, it's still the Panthers. They're still terrible. At $2,400, it's probably the cheapest I would go at defense this week. If you had to save the money, I'd rather play Dulcich at tight end and pay for a better defense. That's me, but we just saw the Titans score 2 touchdowns defensively last week. So, any defense can break at any sort of week. The best values: Jags, Texans, Jets, Browns, Lions on the board. I actually used a lot of Lions this week to pair it up with Montgomery lineups or with Jahmyr Gibb lineups, if that's the way that everyone wants to play it. Well, that will do it for the Week 10 NFL cheat sheet. You can get the written cheat sheet at 4for4.com or in the Mayo Media newsletter, sent directly to your inbox for free if you go sub to it right now. If you're looking for the rankings list, they are in the description along with updated injury reports as well. Just click the link, free article, go find it at 4for4.com. But I'll be back, as I mentioned, for the kickoff of the games at 1 p.m. Eastern on Mayo Media Network. Additionally, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time with me, Custon Gary, and recapping the games, guessing the spreads for next week. But that'll do it for me. Smash the like. You got a question? Dump it into the description right now and turn on those notifications when you sub to Mayo Media Network. All right? Thank you all for watching. Good luck in week number 10. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!